Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, I can do whatever I want.
So you haven't started the Facebook yet, have you?
I have. It says it's going live.
Oh, okay.
Did you happen to get any extra of the
Yeah.
butterfly
I have.
paper?
It says it's
Yep, you're going. You're going.
going. Okay. Extra of the what, Julie?
The butterfly papers?
No, I did not.
Yeah, when I went to order them, they were already out.
Yep, they're already sold out, which we'll talk about in a little bit because that kind of reiterates the while supplies last, right? Right?
Right.
Don't be delaying. All
Sue
right.
Ellen joined on Facebook. Says hi, gals.
All right. Excellent. Well, we'll get going. Hello. Welcome to my Facebook Live. I am Leanne Furness, and I'm an independent demonstrator here in Rochester, Minnesota. I'm going to be showing you some fun embossing folders. Some of them I've shown before differently, but same technique, different results. And then some new ones. So that'll be fun. I will try to pause so you can ask questions. Even if you're on Facebook, you can chat in, and Anne is my assistant tonight and she will tell me if there's questions. And if you're on Zoom, you could certainly jump in and ask me questions. I'm going to go ahead and spotlight my hands so you don't have to look at my face so much. All right. So I wanted to talk about embossing folders. Whoops, let's see if I can get this lined up. And what I wanted to start with is to show you something in the catalog. I didn't realize, so again, I just want to point out that this catalog is retiring at the end of April. And so that means that tomorrow is the big day where we get the retirement list. It will tell us what stamp sets will no longer be in our annual catalog, and it has nothing to do with that other catalog, the mini catalog. That's going to be around till June, so you don't have to worry about that. Just the retirement list will be from here, and I'll try to explain that best in my email. The main thing that is retiring that I know for sure, and this is the only thing I know, I have hunches about certain punches, and that rhymed. I like it. Hunches about punches. On page 143 in the in color collections, the 19 to 21 Rococo Rose, Terracotta Tile, Pretty Peacock, Seaside Spray, and Purple Posy are retiring as of the end of this catalog. So if you were excited about that butterfly paper and you didn't get it because it's already sold out, which is quite sad, don't delay on these because those are only while supplies last. And they were delayed for a little bit with the Rococo Rose, but they got a new shipment in, they said, but they were not going to be reordering because it's going to be retired. The other thing is designer series paper will not stick around 98% of the time. And so if you go to that page on 148 to 150, if you love any of these papers, you better order them quick because they're going to be gone forever, I believe. I could be wrong tomorrow afternoon, but you never know. So watch for that email from me tomorrow afternoon. All right, so let's go talk about embossing folders. I think you can see it's a little glary, but there are two different colors of green in these embossing folders, and it's really hard to see the embossing folders and the details that they have. But the difference with these green is that this is called a 3D, and that's the lighter mint macaroon. And then this is probably shaded spruce, and it's just a regular embossing folder. I forgot what I was even talking about.
I didn't catch what page was that, Lee?
Say that again?
I didn't catch what page that was.
Oh, it is page, I didn't say that page, did I? Oh,
I
and
thought I just missed it.
nope, 184.
184. Thanks.
And let me remind you too about one other thing. This is like a bonus little moment. The in color, anything in color for 1921, and even the in colors for that are returning, any of the ribbons and buttons and anything in those colors, like if you go to the You
Did
look
you realize
at
you said 1921?
1921. Yep. So what did I say?
Aren't you saying that you mean 2021 as in the year?
No, I mean, the in colors were available between 2019 to
Oh, gotcha.
2021. So I do know what I'm talking about. It's kind of weird, but anything in those colors, like this Rococo Rose ribbon, it's going to be gone for sure. So if you love it, you better order it. Oh, look at a goober. All right, let's go back to embossing folders. So there's 3 kinds, basically, with Stampin' Up, 3 things you need to know about embossing folders. And I have them all right here. Not all of them, but you know, a lot. And if anybody has my woodland embossing folder that they borrowed and never returned, I'll take it back. I don't know where it went. I should write these things down, but I didn't. All right, so the regular embossing folders are not as thick. And when you use your machine, of course, you're going to just follow the instructions on your base. But the regular ones are much more flexible and you can bend them. So that kind of tells you, oh, I just need to do it like the standard embossing folder. Then these 3D ones from Stampin' Up and other companies, you can't bend. See how I can't really bend that? So Stampin' Up, remember, divorced Sizzix. And so we have 2 different kinds of 3D embossing folders. We have some that have Sizzix on it and some that don't. And so your sandwich is different depending on that word Sizzix. So when you're here at a buffet, I'll say, show me that folder, because I don't remember which I have is which. But basically, you want the 3D embossing folders, you usually just need 1 plate. Whether it's the clear plate or it's this gray plate, depends on whether there's a Sizzix, you use clear, and you use the gray if it's the old one. Now, if you have an older machine that you might have purchased from me, then I'm not supposed to say, the sandwich is a little different. So you're going to have to just play a little bit. You can order this plate number 4 just alone, I think. And so I'm going to play with that a little bit tomorrow and see if that is true, that you need to figure out your sandwich. Whoops, I'm not done with all those. Silly me. All right, so we're going to start with, the first thing we're going to start is just stamping with your embossing folder. Well, why would you want to do that? Well, sometimes you just want a different look, right? So we're going to use wood planks, and I'm going to use crumb cake. And I'm just going to take my ink pad and go directly onto my embossing folder.
That just gave me a really good idea. I've been trying to find some neutral scrapbook paper, 12 by 12, but I could make my own, couldn't I?
You could. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2, I'm going to show you something, because on each embossing folder, there's a debossed and an embossed side. So you can I'm going to put 2 pieces of cardstock in there with some fingerprints. And then I'm just going to rub this to get the ink to transfer to the paper. I'm going to use this very old brayer you cannot buy, and I don't think our sponge brayers would work, but you're just going to have to apply pressure. Like that did not work at all. But this one, I'll show you another little trick. So there you have just a subtle wood background, but remember how this one did not do anything except those lines? I'm going to just push on my fingers and hope I don't get totally covered in sauce or crumb cake. And that gave it a better look. So it's very different than what your embossing folder would look like. It's different than the stamp. So if you don't have the wood background stamp, you could use the plank embossing folder.
You could run that through your machine too.
Well, that's my next step.
Okay.
I'm going to show you what happens if you run it through. So after you've inked and stamped with your embossing folder, you can actually run it through the machine to create a different image. I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to put this in my die cut machine, and it's because it has the Sizzix on it. I have to use a clear plate. I'm telling you, the I might just order all these. One other tip, when you're using these 6x6, you want to make sure that this fold, do you see how it's goobered up right there, maybe? You have this fold, you want that to be either first or last. I like it first, and this centered in your plate, because otherwise it scrapes and then the fold falls apart. And I'll show you what I mean by that when I open up this guy. All right. Ugh. Heavier than it needs to be. All right. So when I open this up, it's very different. And so here's the two different sides of the folder.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. And then so that was stamped. And then that was inked and then ran through the machine. So you can get a lot of different looks with one embossing folder. I wanted to show you that little, see how there's a hole right here? That's because it got like smushed in there or something. So now I'm going to clean this later. I'm just going to wash it under water in my kitchen sink or my other sink. And I tried this with some white ink today, and that was super sticky, but I just used a nail brush and some dish soap, and it came out great. So that is one thing. Now let me show you a few other options. So this is stamping with that brick and mortar texture folder. And this is the deboss side, and this is the emboss side. And look how different it looks if you ink the folder, just like I did just a minute ago.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? You can get so many different looks. And then the Parisian, I had to write it down, Parisian Flourish doesn't look like much when you stamp with it. This is stamped. But if you ink up your folder, you can get some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful images. And then you can create some good cards that are just different, but yet fun. So this is the embossed part. This is the debossed part. You're going to just see how that's different. Like I said, I ran that folder through with white ink, and it gave it an interesting look. Not sure if I like it or not, but I mean, it might fit and might make it really look elegant. Here's another example of the wooden planks, the pine wood planks with crumb cake paper and darker ink. So you can get a lot of different variants. Think about like espresso ink on there and all that kind of stuff. Now, some of the retirement lists might include some of these embossing folders I'm talking about. So you might want to check that out. This is our Lace 3D, and that is beautiful when it's inked up as well.
It's pretty.
Thank you. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is how you can take just a plain cardstock that you already ran through your embossing folder. So this is the tin tile kind of folder. Hopefully you can see that. And I can't tell because it's so bright in here. I can't tell. So you can just take, like I said, an ink pad and just drag it across. So here's my white pigment ink, and I'm just going to lightly, very so lightly, drag that across.
Oh, wow.
And it highlights the raised areas.
That's cool.
Very cool.
Which, as you can see, contrasts very different.
Nice.
And then I did the same with this one, the Parisian. And then watch this. If you take, but wait, there's more. This is a So Saffron piece of paper, embossed with the Parisian, I can't even speak. Anyway, I'm taking my Cajun Craze, and I'm just going to go across it lightly. Now, the other way you could add ink is with a dauber. or a sponge, and you want to do a light touch. Like I hardly push down, but it just adds a whole different pop and a different look. And I think it looks awesome.
Leanne, what was the name of that folder that you had, the last one that you inked up?
Lace 3D, the Lace 3D, this one?
Oh, I love that one, but the one that you did in front of us.
The
It was-
pine wood planks?
No, it was blue and
Oh,
Tile one?
got it. This one?
yeah.
Yes, that's called the tin tile 3D
Okay.
embossing folder. It's gorgeous.
It is.
All right, the other thing you can do is you can take our shimmer paint, which I'm not sure if you can see that, but give it a little shimmer. And sometimes I totally forget we have shimmer paint in our catalog. I hope it doesn't go away, but I just shook it up. You can hear that little ball rolling around, and I'm just going to put a little bit on my block. And again, this is paint, so when I'm done here, I'm going to go and wash it with hot water in that handy dandy utility sink. But I have some on my dauber. Whoops, I guess you can't see it. And I'm just going to slightly rub, whoops, that wasn't slight, to see if I can get just some highlights sparkly. But this was not embossed very deep like this one was. This is a deeper embossed, but it does dry and shimmer, and it just adds something. Now you could get crazy and get really in there, but then again, it might be a different look that you want. You really have to play and just see what it is you like. That kind of looks more like a tile ceiling. All right, so shimmer paint's another option to get just a beautiful look. I mean, that'd be beautiful for a wedding card.
That's really pretty.
Yes, I like the shimmer. In fact, I'm gonna have to do a Facebook Live on shimmer. Here's another example of the brick and mortar ink or folder, and then it's in cinnamon, what's that called? Cinnamon craze, I don't even know. But then I took the Cajun craze ink pad and slid it across. This is again the So Saffron with that Cajun craze and the lace folder. All right, any questions so far, Anne? Anybody?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, Amy just wonders how she didn't know that you could run the embossing folder with ink through the thing.
Who said that?
Amy.
Oh, well, because you don't play enough with me, I guess. So here's, let me clean up my space a little bit, because I know, like all of you, you end up in like a little corner of your space. So I'm gonna move that up quick. I'm not going to show you that anymore. So what the next thing we're going to talk about is it's the same concept of inking in my embossing folder, and this is that tile, but I'm going to use Versamark. And when I do that, I'm just pushing down, and I'm just going to ink one side because I only have one piece of cardstock. You could do both right away. But what you're going to do after it's Versamarked, you have two options. You can just let it dry, and that creates a, I lied. I guess I am using this. It creates a
Watermark?
a different darkness as a watermark, right? You could take the Versamark and run it across your raised area to get a darker spot or darker cardstock. Or, so this would be just with Versamark. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just with Versamark. So it's got a little bit more texture looking to it. But then you can go ahead and put some embossing powder on that, because Versamark takes forever to dry. And then through the heat and TV activities, I didn't really want to sit here and do this, but look at this. This is clear embossing powder on top of the Versamark and heat embossed.
Mm.
I love it. Same concept. This looks like the cheap paneling from the 70s, maybe.
Oh, wow.
This is Night of Navy with the same option. And then here's a finished card. Super simple. I mean, all you have to do is have that paper and a greeting and you are set. So don't overlook embossing. So I'd call that double embossing. And on my Facebook page, I did put some PDF links up there so you could go find them. I'm working on the other one. You know, I'm trying to get ahead. I don't know if I'll ever be that far ahead.
Amy wants to know how you've never showed us this stuff before.
I have shown you all this many times. No one ever believes me, but really I have plenty of samples to show you from the years. All right. So then on my little handy dandy handout that I did. Okay. So remember I said I couldn't find that woodland embossing folder because I wanted to showcase this and you see it a lot. There are people who have this embossing folder. And how the heck do you get those trees from the behind those birch trees? Well, you stamp those actual trees on the raised side of your folder. I wish I could explain it better. I wish I had it. But so it's a technique you can do and it's beautiful. This is lovely as a tree, probably. I don't even know, but I'll have to get a new one and show you guys at some point.
You can use mine.
Huh?
You can use mine.
Okay, thanks. I should have just said, hey. All right. Then I have a whole bunch more samples because I got a little out of control, which everyone will be not shocked. In our catalog, our annual catalog that's retiring at the end of April, there is on page 153 a specialty kind of design paper called velveteen paper. And if you were here, you would feel it and you would see it. And it's just velvety and it's beautiful. And I embossed this guy. This is the Meadow Moments. But watch what happens. If you take some sandpaper, and no, this is old, you can't buy it. I've just been hoarding it. If you take sandpaper and rub on this paper, the embossed area starts to pop out. Well, if I had time, I would do that. So that gives you this totally different kind of look because the paper is not velvet through and through. This doesn't work with our regular cardstock because that paper is dyed through and through. But the velvet paper, that is just going to be some fun kind of stuff. And I don't know if the velvet paper will come back or not. I'm going to guess no.
What about if you use white cardstock and put your own ink on it and to make that purple say and then do it? That would work, right?
Right. You could certainly, Anne was saying, you could certainly blend some watercolor paper and blend your own ink on top and then emboss it with the folder and then sand it. You'll get the same kind of concept. This is a designer series paper from the World of Good DSP. And I ran it through the brick and mortar and then I sanded off some of that brick to give it a distressed look. And I used the butterflies because you can still buy the butterflies. You just can't get that paper that goes with it. So I'm kind of hoping there's new paper coming. Here is an example of that velvet folder, velvet paper being kind of, I mean, it's a beautiful card.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing you could try is using our foils. Now check this out. This is our gold foil, and that's the tin tile. How beautiful is that? You wouldn't even need to do any embossing. If you wanted to, I tried sanding it to see what that looked like. Not sure I like that. Then I tried, oh gosh, I don't know what this one's called. I think it's called Hammer. Hammer? And they'll help me out. But you can see the difference. This is the embossed and this is the debossed. So you can kind of see that it's very different and it's a very different look and neither one is right, neither one is wrong. So I was going to make just a quick card with my little giraffe and then like this little word. This is not good.
Hammered
think that
Metal
would be-
3D.
What is it called?
Hammered Metal 3D on page 184.
Yep. So it's a cool little folder.
So is that foil? That's actual like just foil paper?
It is. Foil paper is on page 153 in the annual catalog. We have 4 colors, I believe, with that. Gold, silver, copper. I don't even remember. I should have written that down.
I think it's a pearl.
And a pearl.
Brass, champagne, copper, gold, and silver.
Okay.
Page
Well
150.
then, because that's not enough foils, you can go to our, oh, good gravy. Well, wait, before we move on to the other foils, I'm going to move over to the right of that. There's some glimmer paper, rainbow glimmer. And I did the same thing. I used that Hammer 3D embossing folder, and then I sanded off that to give it a whole different look. But you can certainly see how fun, and you know, it has lots of options to do. And in the mini catalog, there is Love You Always foil sheets and Love You Always designer series paper on page 11 in that mini January to June that is not retiring anything this week, or it won't be announced until, you know, the end of beginning of June probably. But it has this beautiful foil embossed paper. And then there's some plain colors that of course go with it. And so what I did is I decided I was going to layer my squares, and then I embossed them with the subtle embossing folder to give it that kind of quilted fabric look. I don't know if you can
That's
see
really
it.
pretty.
I love this paper and I think it's so beautiful. And this is like, last time I had a card, I did a wedding card of some sort with strips of it, but I just think this paper is gorgeous and it will sell out probably not soon, but sooner or later. So you can get a good quilt look if you want with your paper, and think about the possibilities. You can make a bunch of different colors. So what I wanted to show you is I then tried a bunch of different folders with a bunch of designer series paper. That was a flop. Just so you know, my work does not always work out for me, but I wanted to show you this cool idea. This is embossed with the Evergreen folder that was a carryover from the winter catalog. And it will be in our annual catalog that you all will receive probably beginning of May, maybe end of April. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a dauber and I'm going to take some shaded spruce and I'm going to color those raised areas so that the trees, and I have to be patient and soft and just take some time, but this will make my trees green. And this paper is from the Artistry in Bloom designer series paper in the main catalog. But you can see how with a little patience, you can get your trees to look like that.
Wow.
And so I tried it too with a green color, didn't like it as much. Then I went, oh, wait a minute, blue, I like it. So it gives it a whole different look than just plain. And then the best paper to try with this stuff with is vellum. Look at how beautiful that is.
Wow.
And a lot of people ask me how you put vellum on. Let me tell you some little tricks and tips. This is just wrapped together because vellum will show through. And I think you can see maybe that little tree in there. There's a dot, there's a glue dot. So I put glue dots on there and then put gems to hide those. Super simple. But you don't want to do a strip of vellum unless you're doing a vellum with a frame. And this is our Dandelion 3D folder. And that is just vellum ran through regular and then a piece of black cardstock underneath there. And I adhered the black cardstock to the vellum and the edge, and then the frame is holding it down. Beautiful. And the other fun things with vellum, like this was my club card this past month. We embellished, we punched first. So you wanna, if you're gonna embellish an element, you're gonna emboss a circle or a square or a die or a triangle, you wanna cut them first and then throw them through the embossing folder. Because what happens is if you emboss first and then cut, the pressure from the machine is going to flatten all that embossing. So it's really not going to look that great. So that's a little trick. And then I wondered, being the vellum looks, so these are adhered, you know, behind where you can't see. I wondered if I color the vellum, will it have that same kind of effect that the dandelion did, where it's white? And if you sand it, it does, but you can just do so many cool things. So many cool things. And then one of my last, I have 2 more tips. No questions, huh? This is also the Artistry in Bloom paper. I don't like the other side. It's got all this funky stuff on it, but I love this side. I used the Meadow Moments. And do you see this? I only embossed up to there. Super easy to do because, let me show you. If your embossing folder's the right size, right? So you can't do that with every embossing folder, but you got to just be strategic. Aha. So here's my platform that's going to go through the die cut machine. And here's my embossing folder. And then I can pretend this is just a cardstock layer, and I can take that and put it through just like that. And then to finish it off, you can score it with your bone folder and your scoring tools, and it just kind of gives it a different look and kind of finishes off down there. You can't really see it, but if you saw it in person, you'd be going, wow. The other thing I tried, let me get rid of this, was this is Night of Navy with the Parisian Flourish. And then this is some more of that same Artistry in Bloom DSP, but then I sanded that. But it's I put this paper on first, then I ran it through my folder. And what you want to remember is your folder, if it's super wide, right, it's not going to go the other way, but you can do it. Just line it up on the edge and run it through, and then you have a great embossed, if you don't mind the inside being embossed. Depends on how you feel. And my last example is the Dandelion Wishes, or Dandelion embossing folder. I don't even know what it's called, but I stamped on this same paper, the same Artistry in Bloom, some of the Dandelion Wishes dandelions, and then I stamped this sentiment, and then I sanded off what the embossing folder raised up for me.
It's just Dandelions 3D.
Dandelions 3D. Look at it.
Page 184.
Thank you. So that's it.
That's awesome.
Thank you. I think, let me see here. I think if you just take some time and play, you're gonna want to have, okay, really? Oh, well, who cares? Oh my gosh. Sorry, now I'm gonna be small instead of big. I'm just gonna shut this off. Anyway, if there's no questions, I am going to remind you that tomorrow we are going to get the retirement list for, gosh, okay, so I don't like it when technology doesn't work. Can you tell? Anyway, okay, I'll stop. So Retirement list for the annual catalog is coming out. Demonstrators only get to have a sneak peek at the new catalog. But we can't really share anything. And then, but we can share the retirement list. So I will send out an email. It comes out at about 2 o'clock or so. And so I will have an email ready to go. There will be some discounts given, they said. And like that, you know, the butterfly, that DSP butterfly paper, that 6x6 paper, it is gone. It is out. It was sold out in 2 weeks. So if there's anything that's a consumable that's discontinued and retiring, you'll want to order it. Stamp sets and dies tend to last longer. Just a little FYI, a little inside. But so like embossing folders and the papers and the ribbons and all that stuff, if it's going away and you want some, you might want to order a bunch or whatever you want to do. But use my host code. I just updated that on my Facebook, on my website. And that's it. That's all I got.
Cool.
Thanks.
Okay. Awesome.
Again, on the Facebook page, there should be a little comment underneath about the Facebook Live that says, check out these PDFs. Then I have some tips and tricks and other things that I used. And then share with me if you try this and take a photo. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be great. Just share it with me on my Facebook page. I'd love it. You might even get a little surprise. And if you did something last week with DSP and using it in your image, I'd love to see that too. So don't be afraid, share it and it'll be awesome. All right, have a great day. I'm looking forward to warmer temperatures soon. Bye.
Bye, Leanne.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.